Hello, hello. This is your Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, I have Teresa Schwartz with That Movers with over 5 years in the industry. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. So, Teresa, where are you guys based?
So we are based in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, if you've heard of it.
Yep, yep. I've heard of it. I'm on the East Coast myself. Okay. And so, what has inspired you to start your moving company, and what made you feel like it would actually work?
We're a husband and wife moving company. So I think my husband was more or less inspired. He'd been doing it for 18 years. And prior to us establishing ourselves, I think he had a moment where he was fed up and tired of feeling like he was unfairly treated by pay and just working for someone else, and asked me one day to create a website for a moving company for him. And I didn't really pay any mind to it. So I didn't necessarily do it immediately. And he continuously asked me over and over. I think it took him a couple weeks before I gave in. And so I built a website just to shut him up. It was a free Google template website. Okay. I mean, like bare bones. I mean, no pictures. I think stock image of a cartoon truck was on it. And we started getting calls and jobs. And I mean, these are great jobs that we were getting, big houses for lawyers and doctors. And we did a really great job. And that led us to believe in ourselves. And so we went from there and grew.
Sure, sure. And I think that that's an important thing because at the end of the day, you need to start somewhere, right? And I think all of us have been there at least at some point where we either got fired or got underappreciated that gave us that extra push. I talk about this a lot. I was doing at one point sales for 10 moving company or for like three moving companies. My former boss said, "Hey, if you did sales for 10 companies, you'd make a fortune," basically same type of deal. And I started thinking after that conversation, and I knew I couldn't do sales for 10 moving companies because that would be too much. So it was more like, okay, so what can I do here? Well, if I hired some guys, if I taught them to do what I'm doing, etc., then that there could be success there. And that's precisely what happened in my case. And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. So I think in a lot of cases, sometimes it's either someone or something that gives you a push in that direction. I don't have anybody that in my family that owned a business. I don't have anybody that did anything like that. So when you start from scratch, and you're trying to work things up, sometimes it's just having that extra push. That's one thing. The other thing, it's frankly, you have to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do, learn how to do things, etc. I think that that's extremely important just to just even sometimes it's just worth trying and see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, you can move on, but like I think sometimes it's worth the risk, especially if you like what you're doing. So, in your mind, what do most people misunderstand about hiring movers and what should they really be paying attention to?
From a customer standpoint, I think they misunderstand time, concept of time. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but a lot of times we have people who know exactly how many movers they're going to need and how long it's going to take. Well, when they're hiring movers, I believe they really need to pay attention to the company's reputation and if it's established, if it's regulated, if it's federally regulated, if they're crossing state lines, if they're insured, licensed, all that good stuff. Moving is lucrative, and I mean, a lot of people start out, you know, without being licensed and regulated before they
Right.
figure out they have to be.
Right.
So I think a lot of consumers are unaware that there are those fly-by-night
Right.
companies.
And I think one of the problems with consumers in general when it comes to this industry is that like they're too focused on how much money a mover is going to cost you when
Yeah.
reality is this. you can certainly choose a cheap mover if you like. But when you hire cheap, that's exactly the kind of
Yeah.
service that you're gonna get. And like I talk to people all the
Sure.
time when we
I
get
know what you're
small
gonna
move,
say.
and the small move is like maybe 400 something bucks, and they start complaining about it. And I usually my thing is usually is this, and that's something that everybody can, unfortunately identify with right now with ice being all over the place, right?
Mhm.
And that main thing being that I tell them, look, if you went to Home Depot and you hire two day laborers are going to want $200 per day per person. That's not included in the truck. That's not included in any kind of licensing, any kind of liability coverage, anything, right? So
Right.
if without the truck, you're already going to pay 400 bucks, what makes you think that professional movers are going to cost you less?
Well, I always give them the analogy like there's that triangle, good, fast, and cheap. You can have two, but you can't have all three,
Right.
right? So, I mean, I just kind of relay that.
Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media, and they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video.
And then also too, I like to throw the analogy like especially during pricing, I might personally feel they need four movers. They think three because the hourly rate might be lower. We structure our pricing on hour. I tell them at the end of the day, like you're gonna have less time at an equal price with four guys versus more time at the same price with a lower hourly rate on three guys. So I think when people are shopping around like that, if you can have the emotional intelligence and connect with them and really lay it out for them, then they become aware, during that shopping point.
I think that is extremely important, and I think that that's something that people got to understand. But at the end of the day, we as movers and we as salespeople for the movers, when we're talking to a customer, I think it's also our job to explain the difference between a professional and not so much. Now, here in US, it's not as much wild, wild west when it comes to rogue and unlicensed movers as it is in UK and Canada, with which we work. So I can tell you that
Mm.
firsthand.
Yeah.
For UK, a man in a van operation is a in a lot of ways it's a way of life because you have at least you probably have at least half the people in the industry work that exact way. So the guy gets a truck and then he goes and moves, and UK law does not forbid it. There's no penalties for doing that. There's no anything. There's not really. It's not like here. If you go and the DOT busts you and that you don't have an active DOT number, that you don't
Yeah.
have licensing, you're going to get a $30,000 fine plus. That's not going to happen in UK. In UK, like you can work that way if you choose to. So it's your
Yeah. Right.
job when you're talking to people to explain the difference and
I,
explain what they're risking, and ask them if they're worth the risk. Because at the end of the day, if you have an expensive piece of furniture and that piece of furniture gets destroyed, that couple of $100 that you potentially saved on the move, you're never going to get back, and you're actually going to pay up a lot more than if you use the professional mover.
no, I completely agree too. I feel like I don't know. I never knew UK was that unregulated when it
Oh yeah.
came to things like that. I feel like it would
Canada,
be
Canada too.
completely
Yep.
opposite because those places are
Nope.
so high in taxes. You would think,
You'd think,
you would
right? But
think,
no.
yeah.
No, to
Wow.
them, man in a van, if you search remove, they call it removals in UK, but if you search, you're gonna see a man in a van pop up all over the place, and that's what it is. It's literally a guy in a truck. And honestly, like obviously, I talk to UK movers a lot. I go to an
Mm,
event over there once a year. I'm constantly talking to guys in UK,
yeah.
and it is a big deal. And they're definitely I feel like they're missing that regulation so much And it's affecting their business because there's always somebody that's out there that's going to undercut them on the
Under,
pricing,
yeah. Yeah. So they
right? So
do feel that
that's
way over
Oh,
there.
absolutely. But I think at the
Wow.
end of the day, there's got to be legislation that's got to be put in, and for whatever reason that hasn't happened yet. And I think in US, a lot of this legislation took place because at some point or another, a politician probably got moved and got moved poorly, and that's where some of this regulation came from. If I'm not mistaken, there was a either a senator or a congressperson, anyway, politician that was moving to Florida,
Hmm.
and they ended up booking with a broker and the
Oh,
move went to crap. And because of that, you had some legislation in Florida that took place that really targeted brokers,
yeah.
where brokers have cannot represent themselves as a company anymore. And I can't tell you because that's not my part of to you, obviously, but I can't tell you if that applies to all the states. Maybe it just applies to Florida, but I know there was a big fuss about that, certainly. So, what makes your company different from other moving companies in the area?
I think our crew, our guys, I've got six, we're kind of smaller again. We're still kind of new. Our guys are almost like brothers with one another. Half of them are MMA fighters, the other half is a football team. So
Oh.
all of our guys are like these badass athletes. They support each other. They go to each other's sporting events, fights. They go to the gym together. They go out to eat together, and everybody really looks out for one another in our company. And we have like our group chat, and just it does. It almost goes without saying, like we don't necessarily have to be so structured when dispatching and sending our guys out. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Also, our crew is a mix of van liners with local moving guys. So we have the best of both. We've got a little bit of that like high professionalism as far as like packing and
Hmm.
loading
Sure.
and protection from the van liners. And then we've just got the good camaraderie and just like know all of our local guys. I think it's a very good blend.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't understate that because having a good team in place is can only like that's what's gonna take it to the top at the end of the day. Because like as a sales guy, I can sell whatever. I can tell how
Yeah.
wonderful you are, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's the guys that are physically coming to the job, that are physically doing the job. They're going to keep those customers coming back.
Yeah.
So they basically make my word. They either make me sound like an idiot or they make me sound like the most amazing sales rep ever that just gave them this wonderful service. So if they're the later, then obviously we're going to end up with great reviews and things like that. If you're
Yeah.
not the later, then everything is going to go down and they're going to say and they're going to call me a liar and everything else in the world. And that's certainly not something that you want to do. And as a sales team, you want to make sure your sales team is representing you well, and once again, that the guys in the field are backing up what your salesperson said. Now, what's one decision or strategy that significantly accelerated your business growth, you feel?
This is kind of my secret weapon. I don't know how to explain it, but I joined a business chapter out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I go to monthly, and it's a group of business owners. We're basically coached by two business owners that are multi-millionaire business owners, different industries, whatever, but they coach us every month. It's an accountability group, and we go in, we discuss, any ideas, rocks or goals and that, and we hold each other accountable. And within joining that group, and that was about a year and a half ago. I've just seen our growth excel up to over 84% in the last year and a half. It's just taught me to focus, take risk. It's given me networking resources with industry leaders. I've actually had fireside chats with big journalists and news reporters and things like that. So it's just a wonderful chapter I joined. And in fact, I don't want to get too much into it. I'm so excited and thrilled about it. And I'm
Yeah, I
just
think
thankful.
I think it's commendable.
Yeah.
I think you need to one thing is having a business. Another thing is just trying to make yourself more well-rounded and just
Yeah.
growing. And you can just chatting and like even shooting the breeze with like-minded individuals. So it's interesting. ideal. So obviously, I'm here dealing with this sales industry and the moving industry and everything else, right? But I'm also, for those of you guys that haven't seen some of the videos that I have out there, I'm also a big hockey guy. What I find myself, I'm actually trying to put together another business that I'm not quite there yet, but it's definitely something in the works that's going to be related to the hockey, to the game overall, right? It's interesting. I find that I've been connecting to a lot of former professional hockey players and
Mhm.
coaches and stuff like that. And I was surprised in the process to find, and kind of humbled too, that, me following the game and me still playing the game allowed me to connect with these individuals that are like high and
Yeah,
guys that
yeah,
everybody, like, if you follow the game, you know who these guys are. And I'm not gonna put any names, but
yeah,
that's, it's kind of neat that you can make those connections. So whether you're doing something what I'm doing, or if you do just connecting with businesses, because technically business is business, and there's certain things that translate across the platform and across different types of businesses that allow you to learn something. Not all of it may be applicable to whatever you're doing specifically, but there's certainly other things that apply that you could be focused on, that you could be doing. And I think that that's extremely important for to continue growing, because there are things, without talking to some of these people, without getting these ideas out there and just seeing, if this is works, if it doesn't work, I don't think you end up growing. And I think that that's extremely important, because there's so much you can do. Like, a lot of people talk about opening up multiple offices and what have you, but
yeah.
that's not necessarily a solution, because just because you have multiple offices, that doesn't mean that
Yeah.
that you're going to make more money. So you got to look at kind of the whole operation. And then before you choose to expand, you want to make sure that you tighten up your operation, you tighten up your sales team, you tighten up guys that do the jobs outside. You make sure you got to be ready to scale, not scale for the sake of scaling.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot more to business with that. And also, too, from what I've understood and learned, is like if you can find five or six KPIs or key metrics that show your growth, and you can just really focus in on that and then divvy it up and break down into more KPIs of those KPIs, then that is where the secret is to growing necessarily. So, as you said, opening up other locations might not be key. It might be something else. Whereas, like, you could be developing your team, or you could what have you.
Yep, absolutely. So, of course, we can talk a lot about this, and we can continue this conversation, but we don't want to bore you guys, so we want to make sure we get some things out here. So, Teresa, once again, thank you very much, guys. Check out Yeah That Movers. So please
Yeah.
like, please subscribe, please support the podcast and allow us to bring more guests on. And if you're interested in being on the podcast, please join us. Please reach out to us on our social media. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, all these platforms we are on. So please reach out to us. Once again, Teresa, thank you very
Yeah.
much for joining us. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank
All
you
right.
very much for
Thank
joining
you.
us, and we'll talk again soon.